Let's get into it. Coach Colin here. What's going on, guys? If you haven't heard, I already talked about it on my second channel. Jimmy Kimmel getting pulled off of the air because of things he said about Charlie Kirk and who actually was responsible for Charlie passing away in the terrible way that he did. And he also threw a couple jabs at Trump, right? And the whole Hollywood sphere of people who have been cheering on suppression for the longest time, cheered it on with Donald Trump, are now going, oh my God, oh my goodness, free speech is at stake. Oh Lord. Very interesting to see. And Joe Rogan is kind of on that side of things. Now, I'm going to play the clip of him talking about Jimmy Kimmel. And if you haven't seen the episode with Andrew Santano, it's only about Jimmy Kimmel and only about Charlie Kirk. Talks about Jimmy Kimmel every 15 minutes. No joke. 3 hours, every 15 minutes, he brings up Jimmy Kimmel. So, I'm going to play this clip of him talking about this whole thing. And then we're going to have a conversation. And then I'm going to take an opportunity to give you guys a breakdown of what's actually going on in the whole Jimmy saga, the Kimmel saga. Not that I care, honestly. If you ask me what side of things I'm on, I like that it's happening to him. Very honestly. But I'll explain why that is. Let's jump in.
It's going to be really weird. Speaking of adapting. Like this whole Jimmy Kimmel situation that is happening right now.
Yeah, wild.
Very wild. Okay, first of all, the FCC is, you have to have a license to broadcast, which is kind of crazy when you think about what that means now. Because, like, what does it mean? It used to mean that you used to have a license to broadcast because you were going to influence so many people. They had to make sure that you were on the up and up, right? So They had to make sure that you didn't swear. So if you had a license and you were on CBS or NBC or ABC, you could not swear, right? That was the rule. And then on came cable. And somehow or another, cable
Changed the
is a
game.
different thing, right? Because cable, you just, you have to pay for it, I guess, so it's different. And so then some of the channels, you don't have to pay for. It used to be the only ones that swore were like HBO, where you had to pay for. And then all of a sudden it became kind of any of them because they realized, like, hey, we don't, like FX, we can swear, guys. Like, we only don't swear because we want to think of ourselves as TV.
Right.
But HBO was like, you know, with The Sopranos, with HBO comedy specials, in the beginning, that was a big one. You could just swear. Movies, you didn't have to bleep anything out, just wild. And so these, what you're dealing with even, like, first of all, I definitely don't think that the government should be involved ever in dictating what a comedian can or cannot say in a monologue. That's fucking crazy.
It's crazy.
Now, if the problem is the companies, if they're being pressured by the government, so if that's real, and if people on the right are like, yeah, go get them, oh my God, you're crazy. You're crazy for supporting this because this will be used on you. You don't think that the fucking globalist lizard people who run the world are sitting here going, great, what do we got, 3 years? We'll wait this out. Wait this out. Yeah. Let them say the government should be involved in censoring people's speech. Yeah. Let them support that. Let these dumbasses, because Jimmy Kimmel's a leftist, let these dumbasses think it's a good idea and we should celebrate that.
That's the most toxic I keep.
Now, here's the thing with what Joe's saying. This is an improper conversation that he's having right now. The conversation of you should beware because this could be used on you. Don't celebrate. And you're happy because Jimmy Kimmel is a leftist. First off, I'm not happy that this happened to him because he's on the left. That's not why. I'll explain my reasoning why. But why Joe Rogan is giving us an improper conversation right now. Okay? What he's failing to bring up throughout this entire episode is this: who's celebrating what happened to Jimmy Kimmel? It's not people on the left, right? It's people on the right. It's conservatives. It's Republicans. Trump support, right? That's the type of people that are celebrating this right now. So now you're looking at those people. You're looking at us and saying, be careful. This cancellation and suppression could be used on you one day. One day? It already is. at every single turn. That's all it's been for the past 6 years. It's ramped up incredibly. What are you talking about? I'm just saying, you guys know I love Joe, but this is not the proper conversation. This is not the proper talking point to have. This has already been going on. This has already been happening to us time and time and time again. It's constantly, and it's not even just big stars who are right leaning that it happens to. It happens to regular people who are conservative. What's he talking about? There was a whole Google Doc released showing everybody who was suppressed on X. It wasn't big. It was some big people, but most of it, out of the tens of thousands, it was just regular people who just had an opinion and were just saying their opinion. Those were the ones that got suppressed the most. So I get what he's saying, but it's just he's really glazing over the fact that this has been happening to the people who are now celebrating this happening to Jimmy. You know, the conversation should be, this is what the conversation should be. I'm sorry to interrupt. I have to, because this has to be spoken about properly. The conversation should be, this is what the left has been doing for years, and they have been celebrating it. And now look, they're going through turmoil because the thing that they were pushing the most has now turned on them. That's the thing he should be saying. But he doesn't bring that up throughout the entire episode. I'm sorry. That was my TED Talk. Let's keep going.
And censoring people's speech. Yeah. Let them support that. Let these fucking dumbasses, because Jimmy Kimmel's a leftist, let these dumbasses think it's a good idea and we should celebrate.
That's the most toxic that keeps you online when people are like, yeah, shut him down. Now, this goes into a lot, just to jump back, what you said, you just brought me back in my mind. Like, I remember first watching Married with Children, and I remember, like, because they were like a racier show for TV.
Yeah.
And I remember the shift, and my mom didn't like that I liked it.
Nah.
And she was like, what do you like about this show? I was like, they talk like people we know. It just kind of sounded like someone you... So what TV started to do, it started to sound like your actual community, instead of this very... you know, kind of this veneer of everyone kind of speaks very cleanly and politely. Married with Children talked how you heard a guy talk, how your dad would talk or your uncle would talk.
Yeah, it was like one notch in a different direction above like Archie Bunker.
Right.
All in the Family was like one of the first shows like that where the dad was kind of an asshole and a racist.
He was so funny, man.
And funny.
Yeah, he was so funny.
Yeah. So then you have that, and then it keeps going further and further and further until you have the internet. And the internet is just buck wild. And the internet you can't do anything about. Look, I certainly think that for Jimmy Kimmel, all this does is help him.
Yeah.
It makes his show bigger, much more support. I'm sure there's a lot of hate as well, which is not fun. But at the end of the day, if the show comes back, which this is my suspicion. My suspicion is they suspend it for a short amount of time, and then they bring it back, and then there's a lot of lawyers going back and forth in meetings and rooms, and somehow or another it gets worked out that he has a show. He comes back to a standing ovation. Donald Trump tweets mean shit about him, and then the world moves on.
This show still sucks. It still sucks.
I think that is also fucking insane. I don't have time to do that. How do you have time to do that? So going back to this Jimmy Kimmel thing, there's a lot going on with this.
Do you know him, by the way, or
yes.
no?
He's a good guy. Jimmy's a good guy. He's a smart guy. He's a funny guy. He was always very funny on when you know, he did that fucking Windy City Heat thing.
I love that. It's such a good movie.
I think he tried to distance himself from that.
Oh, big time.
Like very, very, very successful because it's a 25-year prank.
What's his name? Perry Farrell?
Yeah. No, let's not mention him.
Okay.
Let's, because
I know.
litigious. Let's just have people go find it when he's Heat. But you see that and you go, oh, that's the same guy. Like, yeah. Well, so one thing that does happen to guys as they get older is, you know, they soften their ways and they change who they are and they change how they interface with the world, and you know, and then if you're in Hollywood, you are also addicted to an ideology, and it depends on what kind of style you have. So if you have a funny, mocking style that is like satirical, that's always making fun of things tongue-in-cheek, like Norm Macdonald, perfect example. Norm Macdonald, even if he's making fun of you, is not going to piss you off to the point where you tweet about him. Because if you do, he kind of won. He kind of got you. You know what I mean? So it's like Kimmel has this sort of go fuck yourself style. Well, because kind of ironically, he celebrated in his monologue when Tucker Carlson got fired. It's kind of a problem.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of a problem that he, in his monologue, talked about how it was the right thing to fire Roseanne.
Yeah, I remember that.
A little bit of a problem.
Yeah.
A little bit of a problem. Also a problem that he thought the unvaccinated, he made a joke about the unvaccinated people shouldn't get hospital care if there's people who are vaccinated that need that room. I think the joke was, oh, vaccinated person who's had a heart attack, come right in here, sir. Unvaxxed person who gobbled horse goo, rest in peace, Wheezy. Like, that was the joke. Like, I'm unvaccinated. And I was like, that's kind of a fucked up joke, but I'm not mad at him.
No, it's a joke.
It's just a joke.
It's a joke.
But it's like, those things weren't a problem. But this one thing where he said it was a low point. What did he say? I want to be real clear. Let's like pull up his actual quote, because what he said was not bad. It wasn't.
Don't worry, we're going to get to what he actually said. Let's move on to the last clip that I want to show you guys about this whole thing. And I'm telling you, here we are, timestamp. The first clip I showed you, we were at 16 minutes. The next clip I'm showing you, more about Kimmel, we are at 2 hours, 6 minutes, 19 seconds. It's even right. The episode's only 3 hours and 4 minutes. I mean, right up until 3 hours, 3 minutes, these guys are talking about Kimmel. They didn't even talk about the guy's special. Poor guy. Some people get put on that show at the wrong time. Anyway, let's jump in.
We need to stop. We'll just stop being so divisive and stop rewarding politicians for being so divisive.
Jimmy Kimmel returns.
ABC ends suspension starting Tuesday. See, called it.
You did.
Called it.
You know what's interesting? You know what I thought he was going to do is get into different media now, like Conan with this podcast. I thought he was going to do that too.
Well, that'd probably be a good thing for him to do.
I could see him doing that.
But they're really smart to do this because the wave of people watching, I bet he gets the highest ratings he's ever had.
Ever.
They'll be nuts. Yeah, the ratings will be nuts.
Look at that coming back.
Listen, man, it's like you can't, it's the Streisand effect. You can't do that. You can't remove someone for talking badly about you in 2025 if that's what happened.
If that is the way it goes. If that's what happened.
If that's what happened. I suspect there's a lot of factors. One of the factors is declining ratings, right? So as the ratings go down, then people get more and more sensitive about subject matter, more and more sensitive about advertising, because, you know, you're already like, the show is kind of in a bad direction as it is. Look, the ratings are dropping because people are getting annoyed with it being too political, or whatever narrative they could say, right? And, you know, there's advertisers that get upset because they might be right-wing. It is a decision we made because we felt some of the comments were ill-timed and thus insensitive, the statement said. We have spent the last days having thoughtful conversations with Jimmy, and after those conversations, we reached the decision to return the show on Tuesday. Good. So in my mind, he wins, right? He wins. But, you know.
Kind of. He kind of wins, quite honestly. And again, you know, for me, the reason that I think this is a great thing that's happened with Jimmy Kimmel is because, I've said this before, when it came to those people in 2020 who were willing to turn father against son, mother against daughter, sisters against brothers, they were forcing families to fight each other. They were forcing society to fight each other. And if you were someone like me who decided to stand tall and not do the thing, well, then for some reason, we were all put in this situation where we were being called names. We were being made to feel like we were the dregs of society. It was absolutely ridiculous. And he was one of those people that was pushing that on with his rest in peace Wheezy joke when it came to people like me in case we ever needed hospital treatment. He said we should be left to pass away. That's actually what he said. He would have had no problem if they decided to gather us all up and put us somewhere because we were a danger to society, because we weren't going along with the social contract. He would have cheered that on. And because of that, I will forever be completely fine with whatever happens to his show, whatever happens to what he does, where he sits there and reads things that he hasn't even written, and he just does it for a paycheck. I will forever be okay whenever someone like that gets pushed out, or their show gets pulled, or their ratings drop. I will always be okay with it. I don't care that he's a comedian, because he's not really. He's not really. Joe can act like he's a comedian. He's not. He hasn't been a comedian a very long time. He's a dude that's reading a script. He's Don Lemon on his feet. He's Chris Cuomo standing up. He's Anderson Cooper just walking around on stage. That's what he is. He's not a comedian. He's a blend between someone who's standing up like a barista. He's a mix between a barista and Anderson Cooper. That's what he is. Straight up. So I'll never have a problem with what happened to him. Never, ever, ever, ever. Anyway, let's get on to what people have been saying and the situation thus far, because Joe did call it, but there has been a development since. This is somebody saying Democrats trying to explain why Jimmy Kimmel being fired is a free speech violation, but the Biden administration using Google, Facebook, X, or Twitter at the time, and YouTube, the silence conservatives, is not a free speech violation. Look at them just trying to figure it out. Oh, they're going through all the math. Carry the one. Carry the one. Divide the two. Don't forget. Don't forget the remainder. So straight up, that's 100% true. Gad Sad saying, this is you. This is what Joe Rogan was talking about. This is Jimmy Kimmel on Roseanne. And ABC, to their credit, didn't waste any time. They canceled her show today. I'm not a fan of censorship, but this wasn't about free speech. Huh, what was it about, Jimmy? This was about consequences for saying something vile. You can say what you want, but networks don't have to pay you to say it. You can't just blame Ambien for that. Actions have consequences, and ABC made the right call. How about that? In 2018, he said that. I tell you, this guy's a shill. Shill, absolute shill. This was him talking about Tucker Carlson when it all happened to him.
Fox News has severed bow ties with Tucker Carlson. After all these years, they are parting ways, which means he was fired. I mean, that's really what parting ways means. Tucker couldn't be reached for comment. He's already on a plane to Moscow to meet with his manager. But what a shock. I mean, what an absolutely delightful shock this is. Now Tucker can spend more time at home tanning his testicles and touching himself to that sexy green M&M. Sadly, he's probably not done poisoning old people's brains. The question now is, where will he do it next? Will he go to OAN? Will he go to Newsmax? Will he crawl back up Satan's fiery beehole from whence he came? We don't know. One of the most despicable mother Tuckers ever to appear on American television. Fox News.
That's what he had to say. I mean, he was basically me talking about him. I'm just saying, he had no problem with this before. If you're outraged by a multimillionaire getting a TV show canceled, then a guy getting shot, you're the effing problem. Please allow your ego to realize that. I agree 100%. Now, these are the some of the networks. Well, when I say some of the networks, Nexstar owns a bunch of networks. And then St. Clair, which you're going to hear about in a second, they also own a bunch of networks. And Nexstar was one of the first to come forward and actually say that Jimmy Kimmel, what he said was unacceptable, et cetera, et cetera. You know, in light of Charlie Kirk's death, they wanted to play something else, a Charlie Kirk tribute, instead of playing Jimmy Kimmel's show. I don't know if they've gone back on that. I don't know if they're just going to play some kind of news programming, but they have stood tall because someone says, I am sick. ABC is bringing back Jimmy Kimmel tomorrow. Bad decision. And that tomorrow is actually today. But, and people are saying Jimmy Kimmel will air, but St. Clair, who owns 38 ABC's affiliates, said they will not air Jimmy Kimmel Live when it returns tomorrow. They have decided against it. They said beginning Tuesday, St. Clair will be preempting Jimmy Kimmel Live across their ABC affiliate stations and replacing it with news programming. Just as I said, discussions with ABC are ongoing as we evaluate the show's potential return. So they might just, basically cave in. But for now, they've said, no, we're just not allowing him back. There hasn't been enough of a conversation, and there hasn't been any kind of apology. Nexstar actually joined in with St. Clair and said they're going to continue to not show Jimmy Kimmel's show, which I think is great. It says we stand by the decision pending assurance that all parties are committed to fostering an environment of respect, constructive dialogue in the markets we serve. I'm guessing that's network speak for they want him to apologize to the Kirk family, Erica, and Charlie's children. Probably not an apology to Donald Trump. It's always been a free-for-all when it comes to Donald Trump. So I doubt that's going to be the thing. But again, like I said, I gave my reasoning for why I'm okay with this when it comes to Jimmy. And I gave my reasoning as to why I think Joe Rogan is not correct in his stance. I think he's correct in his stance of not wanting to see this happen. He knows Jimmy, right? We both have biases in this whole thing. Joe knows Jimmy. Andrew knows Jimmy. They like the guy. He's a good guy, etc., etc. I do not know Jimmy. All I know is that when I made a decision years ago to stand tall, lose my job, and have to do Uber Eats to survive, he was one of the people trying to turn society against me. So that's just me. But again, Joe should be having the conversation of, look at the monster the left has created in cancel culture. Look what they've done. They cheered this thing on. They made this thing relevant. They actually made it work. Many people have been canceled. Many people have been canceled and deplatformed, etc. And now look, it's starting to roll back on them. That's what he should actually be talking about. So just wanted to give you guys that update. That's what's going on with Kimmel. That's what Joe thinks about it. Again, this episode with Santino, it's basically about Charlie Kirk, not as much as Jimmy Kimmel. It's about Jimmy Kimmel, and it's about how social media is frying everybody's brains. That's what the whole episode's about. It's good, but that's coming from someone that loves every episode, right? So do with that what you will. But there's no need to give you a timestamp. Go anywhere in the episode and wait 5 minutes. You will hear Jimmy Kimmel's name. Anyways, guys, just wanted to bring that to you. I'm out of here.